Time now for a look at today's newspapers, and for that I'm joined in the studio by Alison Sargent, who's freshly returned from a lovely holiday in the US. Hello, Alison.
Hi, Annette.
And we're going to start, no surprise, with Afghanistan, which of course continues to dominate the front pages with just one day to go before the US is set to end its evacuations.
Yeah, the final countdown has really begun ahead of that deadline on Tuesday. Emirati paper The National writes that 300 Americans and just a handful of foreign and Afghan allies remain in the country. The paper notes that these operations have, of course, been complicated by the threat of attack. The front page photo here shows Joe Biden watching the arrival of the bodies of the U.S. soldiers who were killed last week in the attack at Kabul airport. That attack also killed over 100 Afghans. Still, despite that ongoing danger, a Lebanese paper, L'Orient Le Jour, writes that hundreds of people have still been coming to the airport every day, desperate to try and leave the country. The paper headlines that with just hours to go before the final U.S. pullout, their hope is waning.
And we're also seeing a lot of concern about those Afghans who are expected to be left behind.
Yeah, lots of concern and criticism of the U.S. and other foreign governments for abandoning their Afghan allies. We can look at a cartoon. This is from the British cartoonist Dave Simmons. And you'll notice, Annette, it's a visa application. It is riddled with bullet holes. That stamp at the top there reads, Her Britannic Majesty's Secretary of State couldn't get it together to allow the bearer to leave and left them in the crap. Another cartoon we can take a look at shows Joe Biden putting a positive spin on the situation. This one is from Peter Schrank for The Times. We see Joe Biden in military fatigues boarding that last airplane, leaving Afghans behind with the Taliban, a suicide bomber also lurking in the shadows. But Joe Biden is saying, at least we leave the country as we found it. And then finally, another very grim cartoon from The Guardian's Ben Jennings. This one shows a soldier looking in the mirror after returning home. He's saying to himself, we won, right?
Now, in the meantime, French President Emmanuel Macron says he wants to continue evacuating Afghans beyond that August 31st deadline.
Yeah, at the UN this Monday, France, Germany, and the UK are set to propose creating a safe zone in Kabul to keep evacuating Afghans. Macron has also called on Europe to coordinate its acceptance of refugees. The UN expects as many as 500,000 Afghans could flee the country by the end of the year. Le Parisien, though, writes that this is really a politically explosive topic for Emmanuel Macron, and it comes with France's presidential election now just 7 months away.
And speaking of presidential elections in this country, the race is starting to heat up, with many presidential hopefuls holding rallies over the weekend. How many months away is it, Alison?
7 months away. And it's getting close. It's just around the corner.
Yeah, we've got 7 months of this, haven't we?
Yeah, we have 7 months to go. We talk about the rentrée in France, Annette, of course, the back-to-school season. This weekend, though, was the political rentrée, back to campaigning for politicians, gearing up for that long 7 months ahead. As you see here on the front page of Libération, there's quite a crowd that is hoping to take on Emmanuel Macron in the spring. The paper calls it the Great Traffic Jam. You'll recognize some of them here. We see Macron and Marine Le Pen sitting front and center in this sort of class photo of politicians. You'll also recognize Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo clutching her school bag. She's hoping to be the socialist candidate. And now this giant field of candidates is prompting Swiss paper Le Temps to warn about the risk of electoral chaos in France. The paper writes, the more candidates there are, the more the debate becomes centered around personalities. Le Temps writes that the big risk is that it makes voters even more discouraged and less likely to turn out and vote, which is a huge concern because, as you know, Annette, we're already very worried about seeing major abstention in France next year.
Indeed. Now, staying in France and the French football world, of course, the big news there is Lionel Messi making his debut with Paris Saint-Germain.
That's right. He joined the team earlier this month after over 20 years playing for Barcelona. It is pretty weird to see him in photos without that striped Barca jersey. PSG played Reims and beat them 2-0, but it was thanks not to Messi, but to 2 goals from Kylian Mbappe. A Spanish sports paper AS headlines here, Mbappe scores at Messi's party. Now, I may be reading too much into it, but I think the Spanish paper seems kind of pleased that Mbappe stole the show. They're maybe bitter that Messi Messi left Barcelona for PSG. There's also the fact, though, that Mbappe is being courted by Real Madrid, so he could decide to leave Paris for the Spanish club. French sports paper L'Equipe is encouraging Mbappe to stay with the team and to stay with his new teammate Messi. Their front page headline here says, "Together would be better."
Indeed, it's an exciting few months ahead, that's for sure, though, with Messi playing there here in Paris. Now, finally from you, The Guardian is reporting on summer's hot new hair trend.
Now, I know the summer is almost over, but I just learned about this, so we still have a few more weeks to get it in. This hair trend is hair horns. It is exactly how it sounds, Annette. The Guardian explains that it is two slanted sprigs of hair sitting on either side of the head that are styled upward to look like pointy horns, much like we see in that photo from The Guardian. The paper writes that one explanation for the style's growing popularity is that it's a protest against conventional beauty. It also creates an otherworldly look. Stylists, though, do warn that it is a very bold look and that not everyone can pull it off, although I think you should give it a try.
I don't think so, Alison. Okay. Thanks for that.